show tonight. I'm excited about my guest. She is a wonderful, wonderful woman. I love this topic. We're going to be talking about the musician's wife. We're going to kind of go into all the ins and outs about how it is to be married to a crazy musician.
Oh, this should be interesting.
This should be interesting.
This should be interesting.
Yeah, this should be great. This should be great.
So who do we have today for our guest?
I'm excited to introduce to you all, maybe you don't know who she is, but I am honored to know her and to call her little sister. Her name is Kenya Patterson Brown. She is the wife of Mario J. Brown, but she's just not his wife. She is a wife, a mother, a licensed professional counselor by trade, but an even more skilled teen and young adult life coach. Kenya is passionate about seeing people where they are and helping them get to where they want to be. She is a wealth of knowledge whose direct and compassionate approach has helped to equip and change the lives of many. So please help me welcome Mrs. Kenya Patterson Brown.
Hey, everybody.
Hey. She is
Glad
here.
to have you on here.
I'm glad to be here. Had to make some elbow room. Let me up in here, boo.
Yes. Yes. Make some room for the missus. For the missus. I'm excited to talk with you, but should we do our culture moment for the day first?
Oh
James?
yeah, I forgot about our culture moment. And so
let's get to it.
So our culture moment of the day is, it's women. It's talking about women today, but my culture moment is about basketball. I'm still a guy at heart, and I'm so glad.
Not all girls don't like basketball.
That's true.
Hey, I'm a basketball fan.
There you go.
And I played basketball, so yeah.
Right.
Okay, there we go.
I'm glad the NBA is back.
I mean, we needed sports. We needed something going on, and so I'm glad that the NBA is back. As I was riding in, looks like Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks was beating the Boston Celtics. So I'm excited about that. And so let's go Milwaukee Bucks. Let's do it. And so the culture moment for me is I'm glad we got some sports back.
I'm glad too, because, in my head, I am the woman Charles Barkley.
There you go.
In my head. It's just only in my head, though.
What is it? Is it the trash talking? What is it? What?
Yeah, I do a lot of trash talking, James. I do a lot of trash talking, a lot of commentary about people's appearance.
Yeah, okay.
Heads, just a lot of that trash talk. I love it, but I'm the female Charles Barkley. I didn't know if you knew.
There you go.
But that's me.
Ladies and gentlemen, the female Charles Barkley.
Yolanda Owens.
That's me. Yeah.
Yeah, we are glad to again have Kenya Brown on the show, and so we're gonna dive in. Y'all ready to get started? I am so glad for you. If you're on Facebook and you're watching, take some time out and share. Start a watch party. Do something. Go to YouTube. If you can't find us on Facebook, go to YouTube. We're on there. You can see it at the ticker at the bottom. So go on there and share. We're about to get into the discussion. It's going to be really, really good.
Yes, let's go. So Kenya, tell our listeners and our viewers tonight who you are. How long you've been married to Mario?
So we've been married about 13 years. In January, it will be 14 years. We met in church. Oh, of course, met in church. I was serving in the youth ministry. Mm-hmm. Then he was a praise and worship leader at the time. And we met with the late Dr. Walter Lee Bates at Balm and Gilead, for all people.
Yeah.
Yes. And we have 3 lovely children. Well, no, we have 4 children. 3 in the home, shall I say.
Yes.
We have a very beautiful and demanding granddaughter as well, who has Mario wrapped around her finger. Very wrapped around his finger. She takes over our bed at least a couple times a month, and I was like, in a minute, I'm gonna move over, and y'all just gonna have the bed, and that's gonna be it. Cause whenever he can have the opportunity to have that baby girl over here, he got her.
Wow.
Wow. So we're coming up on 14 years of marriage. How long you guys been together?
Okay, so we were together maybe a year or so. No, it was a little over a year before we got married. So yeah, it moved pretty quickly, pretty swiftly. But yeah, we've been together about 14, 15 years. Yeah.
So you've seen Mario kind of really, you've had the front seat of Mario's growth musically. How has that been? Tell us some common issues that you've experienced being a creative's wife.
That laugh.
There's so many. But just give us some common issues.
There are the late nights. Like I would just say, for instance, now he's in our previous home. His studio was in the basement of our home or whatever, had it built up or whatever the case may be, so it wasn't so much that you could hear it all the time or whatever. You knew he was down there, he was working or whatever the case may be. This go around in this house, his studio is like in the back of our bedroom. Our bedroom is huge. So I'm up at night just like looking at him like, okay, can I go to bed now? Can I go to bed now? But because he loves it so much, I kind of give him the benefit of the doubt and give him a little bit of grace. Yes. Some of the other challenges that, I've kind of had a front seat to were some of the woes and the different hurts of how he tirelessly gives to other people. Yes. And sometimes it's not really reciprocated, or either he's let down or things don't happen in the manner in which, we feel like they necessarily should. And if I could just be frank and honest, is in the church and out of the church. So, what'd you say? I'm sorry.
I said absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So it's just like, sometimes I've felt like, man, I'm glad for the experiences that he's had, but it also kind of tainted his outlook on some things and the motivation that he has. I'm glad he hasn't ever quit, and he has a very great support system who has helped to allow him and afford him the opportunity to keep pushing him. No, keep going. No, we need your music, and just stand behind him. You need to take a break. Just don't quit, those type things. But it can be very trying. You definitely have to be prayed up in order to continue to push him, because, at any given time, things aren't, necessarily within your control, and you have to kind of just go with the flow.
I love that. Go ahead, Jay.
I was going to ask you, how do you help him? Because I know it can get tough, right? When you are, when he is depressed, when things, or, he has his low moments when people are not doing, like you said, do what they said they're going to do or come through. How do you help him get through? How do you help him get through that? Because that could be sometimes, for some people, that can be a really, really low moment.
Just kind of being, first of all, you have to be prayerful, prayed up. You have to be able to kind of discern. You have to be also, you have to be aware, and kind of just pay attention, for the most part. After being with them for so long, you can tell the different stages or countenance sometimes in his face, or just the tone of his voice, or if he's kind of, withdrawn in some areas, different things like that. So it's just, kind of encouraging and just being there for him. My husband, but he's a very special person in all arenas that he's in. He came to me rotten, so I had to be very attentive to him, and in a lot of different areas, and make sure I'm attempting to try to meet, I'm no superwoman, but just attempting to kind of meet, all of his needs, and just encouraging, him in all aspects that I can. The great thing is that I'm a lover of what he does, and his music, his sound or whatever. This is gonna sound funny, but I loved his music and fell in love with his music before I even loved him. So that has kind of helped me to continue to be supportive of what he does, and just like, no, the world needs you, you know, when he's not around, and people are like, oh, okay, well, we haven't heard anything from your husband, or when is he going to come back, or do you think he can come minister at our church? Though, like, there's a demand from and a need, because he brings something different to the table, you know, and he carries a different type of anointing. So, you know, if it's not there, it is absolutely missed.
Wow.
That I think you've said so many nuggets and so many pieces of wisdom. Some things that stood out to me was discernment, was definitely being a wife of prayer. Being a wife that is supportive. All of those things are so critical and so vital when you are married to a musician, or, like I like to say, a creative, because they're constantly creating. What people don't know who are married to creatives, it doesn't shut off. I think the only time that it probably does shut off is when they're asleep. And then you have those that don't sleep because they are still, you know, still going. And so I think it's so key for wives that are viewing tonight, how important it is to be a wife that is discerning when those times when he needs to shut down, when he needs to be built up, when he needs to have some balance, that you are the wife that does all of that. And I love that. Another key thing that I thought was so important was that you were speaking about support. You've always been a support of his music, whether you were with him or not. You loved his music before you fell in love with him. Tell me, is it important to be his biggest cheerleader?
Oh, that's good question.
I think it is. I think to him, he would say it is. I don't necessarily, I try not to get kind of all caught up in the biggest fan, or I am the fan, you know, those type things. Cause I think he came from his mama, you know what I'm saying? So she, hey, I have no problem with your mama being your biggest fan, biggest supporter, pusher. But, you know, there's a time and place, you know, in there. And there's certain things that a woman, that a wife can provide that a mother is just not going to be able to provide. So I think it is very important for me to be one of his biggest cheerleaders, to believe in him, and to come home, you know, him to come home. And the first thing I say is like, you smashed that, you killed that, you know. And it's like, even after 13 years, sometimes I still, you know, make those mistakes sometimes. And I get so, you know, in the hubbub of running the house and the kids and doing other things. And I just go straight into, okay, babe, we got to blah, 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 blah. And he like, okay, well, did I do well on praise and worship today? I'm sorry. Yeah. So good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is very important for me to be one of his biggest, if not the biggest cheerleader outside of his mama and his sister. Them the only two, you know, they get to kind of share that space with me.
Yeah. I think it's important to be his biggest cheerleader. As you know, of course, I'm married to your big brother.
Right.
My husband's also a musician and a creative. I've always said to wives that whether they're married to a creative or not, should nobody be the loudest in the room other than his wife. You know, maybe his mom because she gave birth to him. But you're never going to beat me supporting him. You're never going to beat me being the loudest cheerleader in his life. And that's in public and out in
private. Yeah.
Building him and building his esteem and doing those kinds of things that a wise wife does. Now, I love that you said in the busyness of life, because let's just be honest, as a wife and as a mother, and as also a professional, you know, you have a career. How hard is it to balance your priorities?
Balance is one of my biggest things I say on my my prayer board, my prayer requests, and I keep that before the Lord all the time, and prioritizing as well, because as a mother or as a professional, you know, as a wife, all of those things, there are different things that come with that are very pressing and need to be taken care of, you know, at that time. but just like you've learned, or some people may have been taught in the church, your marriage is your first ministry, so there are things that you may have to take care of, but at the end of the day, that's going to be your core. So that's what you need to take care of. That's what you need to do. But it is a constant thing that I'm constantly saying, okay, well, how do I balance this? What needs to be, prioritized? Sometimes it means me getting up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning so I can have that private time to get everything that I need done, so that when everybody else is waking up, I can kind of be attentive to them. Now, I may max out, a little early at night. My husband is a night owl, but it just takes some. Okay, come on, Jesus, give me some strength. But yeah, it's very important, and balance is super key in any marriage, relationship, or anything that you're trying to do in life, because at any time something could fall through the cracks or be off your radar when you're in motion of life.
Yeah. Let me give you the B part of this. Because our husbands are creatives, they can either be two of these people. They can either be the person that is tunnel vision, or they can be a person that's all over the place. So how do you bring Mario into balance?
You're asking great questions.
Isn't that a good
Lord
one,
have mercy. I'm glad I'm not in the hot seat.
Now, while she's thinking about that, Jay, what would you call yourself? Because you're a creative, and are you all over the place, or are you tunnel vision?
Lord have mercy.
Which one are you?
So you decided to put me in the hot seat. Great. So it was funny because as I was driving back to Milwaukee, I was thinking about that very thing about being a creative and how we often need validation, right? Because we're creative and we're often seeking for validation because we are creatives. And so I can be all over the place, but then I can also be focused too. So I kind of teeter-totter in both places. And because I am creative, everything that I do has a creative element to it. And so it's I can see something and be like, oh man, that'd be great. And my mind goes into tunnel vision. Then how do I make that happen? You know what I mean? So I can be all over the place, or I can be tunnel vision.
Oh, that's really good. So it's a little bit of both.
Correct.
I can attest to that. So tell me some things that you've done to bring Mario into, kind of settle him, because that's a gift all by itself, because they can literally be everywhere. And so how do you bring him into balance? How do you settle him? How do you bring him to his core?
So he is very good about being self-aware in a lot of different areas. And he'll be like, babe, all right, I need you to pray, because if you don't, then I'm whatever, I'm gonna do this or I'm gonna do that. And I'm like, okay, listen, let's just wait. I'm a planner by nature, so I do to-do list. I'm writing stuff down. Okay, let's break it down like this. I'm a problem solver, so that affords me the opportunity to kind of help balance some situations within the home life or whatever. But he does a very good job with coming to me in those times where he needs me and needs my wisdom and needs my perspective. So I'm able to kind of help bring the balance that way. So I never really have to, a lot of the time, go seek out stuff. When he's doing like business and different things, like he's focused, he has a plan, like he's putting on a show, like when we're doing Bring Back the Groups, that type thing, everything had to be on point to a T, whatever. It doesn't matter if he's putting his name on it or whatever the case may be. In my mind, I'm like, it ain't gotta be that serious. And some air like, calm down. But no, when he's doing it, every I has to be dotted, T be crossed, those type things. So he can be, very tunnel vision when he's working, on something. And then I have to kind of bring in the reins in some areas when we are trying to work on something, we want to do something, and be like, okay, so is this we waiting on this? Are we going to come back to this? Or what are we prioritizing? Those type things. But as it relates to business, when he has his mind set on something, he's going.
Yeah,
That's good.
he's going like 90 times, just going. That's really, really good. So in that, I have another question for you, because we know that he's, a musician, he's a creator, he's a songwriter. So I'm sure he's always seeing inspiration and different things like that. How do you, as his wife, because he's also a husband, he's a husband first. So how do you safeguard your marriage? And I love to say the word safeguard because I don't think people understand that it's really important to bind your marriage together with prayer and, all of those things, but to safeguard your marriage against attacks. So how do you safeguard your marriage against attacks of the enemy, against attacks of other people, against fans that look at your husband like, oh, he's cute, I like his anointing, let me try to talk to him? I mean, there's all sorts of things that that our husbands contend with. And one thing I want to also, just say that, I'll say that. I'm gonna come back to that.
So safeguarding my marriage, my husband has a phrase, that he always says, okay, well, we have to protect the marriage, or we have to do this, or something to bother me. And then my mood will like shift and I'll be looking him upside his head type thing. And he's like, so we got to protect her, so when you say safeguard, I think the same thing as a relationship. Protecting, our marriage. And I'm just going to be transparent. That's something where I'm growing in and I'm improving in, and those type things, because I don't mean to sound cliche, because I have to keep myself prayed up. I got to stay in the face of God, because if I don't, the project chick is going to come out in me, and that's not going to be good. I don't know me for nobody. You know what I'm saying? So I have to safeguard my marriage from me sometimes. Sometimes, but it does take a lot of communication. It takes a lot of being stern. I'm a very direct person. I think in that area, me and my husband kind of complement each other. He can be a little bit more nice and accepting. I'm very discerning. I'm gonna say what I have to say when I say it and how I'm gonna say it. I'm polite and respectful, but there are certain things that a woman is able to discern and see that man is not able to. So I have to bring it to his attention in certain arenas, and certain things, and just be like, hey, okay, but what we doing with this, or whatever the case may be, or watch out for this. And we're like, oh, it wasn't nothing, this and that. Okay, we gonna see. But I just have to kind of be discerning with some of that thing, and then also make sure that I'm staying in a place where I'm not causing, any of that stuff either. And then when there are things that he might be susceptible to, I have to also say something to him, or bring my wisdom to him, or my discernment, and say, okay, well, when this occurs, this is giving the enemy a way in. So this is something that we have to kind of be mindful of doing or not doing, or whatever the case may be. We have to keep the communication going. We have to just be there for each other, not think of ourselves, but this is a team effort at all times.
I love that, because you actually segue to what I was going to say. And I was like, when I was saying, hey, I'm gonna wait for it, but you actually touched on it. And what I was going to say was that when we're married to people that are gifted, who have gifts, talents, skills, and abilities, we have to be really mindful that we're not being used by the enemy. Because there are so many times that the enemy will use who's closer to us to get to them. Yeah. And so I'm so happy that you touched a little bit on that, making sure that your spirit is in check, because the devil can use you to come and attack those skills, those talents, those gifts and abilities that's in the person that we're married to, because those gifts that God has placed and given them, it's for others. And so the enemy knows that as well. So if we can be the one that will be utilized to get them off their game, the enemy has won. So I'm really glad that you said that. Jay, did you have something in regards to that?
That's a great point. You have to make sure that, and I'm just talking from from my perspective is that's a great point about making sure that you don't allow the creative to be, because it could be on the flip side, right? The husbands could be married to creators, right? And so making sure that you support them in a way that you're not blocking their progress, and that you're pushing them to be the best that they could be. You know what I mean? So that's a great point.
Because they need a certain level of being able to be creative and being free. If they are heavy, they're not going to be able to minister freely. Absolutely. They're not going to be able to create freely. You know, those type of things. Like it affects, you know, how you guys flow, and you know, even the anointing that is coming from you, because they may be in a different headspace, you know, or something else. And I think that has helped me in the relationship. God allowed me, like I said, I loved his music before I loved him. He allowed me to see further down the line. He allowed me to see the anointing on his life and what he was going to do. And I wasn't a fanatic about it. It was just something that I feel like I ended up being graced to deal with, you know. So I have a shirt that says I'm graced for him. So it's like it takes grace to be able to keep him in a position that he needs to be in, you know, for our marriage, for, you know, his ministry, for our children, or whatever else, you know. But God afforded me that opportunity to, you know, be in touch with the anointing and show, you know, and see that before I even got to know him as a person. Because at any time something doesn't go right between us, you know, we can look at them totally different in our mind or whatever.
Absolutely.
But that helps me to check myself and go back to say, yo, no, that's not what God showed me. You know, I need to look at him how God is looking at him, and that's how I need to operate and treat him. So that kind of helps to keep things at bay, so he can continue to be free. You know, it takes a big person and a big girl to be married to a musician or a creative, you know, or whatever the case may be. It's not for the faint at heart at all.
It's totally not for the faint at heart. And another thing that is so good that I think is missing just in marriage across the board, if you are a believer, I think that we forget that we are also sisters and brothers in Christ, and not just husbands and wives. And so when you put that in perspective, the sacrifice the sacrifice becomes easy. Because you're like, that's my brother in Christ, and what he has that God has given him, I'm not going to stand in the way for someone's blessing or whatever it is that's going to happen through him or through her. It's major. And so we can't get caught up, well, that's just my husband. No, it's also your brother and your sister in Christ. And there's a certain way that you need to respond. There's a certain behavior, there's a certain conduct that you should have when you're dealing with your sister and brother in Christ. I mean, it's just what it is.
All right, now.
All right.
Where do we send our
what it is?
Where do we send our offerings to, Sister Delana?
Send it to the wise wife. But I think that's so important, Kenya, because you know, we can get married and we can just kind of forget that. It just kind of goes out the window. But we don't think about their soul, and we don't think about the gifts and the talents that God has blessed them with. And we don't want to be the culprit for them not to be free enough to be used by God. Okay? So anyone that's listening, if you are married to a musician, married to a creative, that gift, that talent, that ability, that skill that they have is given by God. And you don't want to be the one that is going to prevent them from being free. So whatever you got to do, you need to get yourself together, because you are a team and you want to be able to come together and, you know, you guys want to bless the kingdom together.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Go ahead, Jay.
No, I was just going to say thank you to all the people that's joined. We have Melanie, Anthony, Linda K, Nick Brugman. I went to school with Nick. Nick's on here. Toddy Nicole, that's my sister. And we got all these people that's on here. We just thank you for joining in. If you're tuning in, we are talking to the wives, musician wives, and we're getting some insight as to what's going on behind the scenes and how they support their husbands and wives, whatever. Yeah, so this is a really good conversation. If you have any questions, please chime in. Go ahead, Delonda. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, that's perfect. Thank you guys for joining in. I'm really enjoying this conversation. I'm enjoying filling in for my brother. Hey, I want to say something. I want to talk about something that's funny.
Yeah.
So your husband doesn't actually play, but he sings. Right. So are there any?
He does play. He plays the drums. He does.
You know what?
That's
that
right.
is right. How did I forget that?
He was self-teaching himself the guitar. So yeah, he
does play the drums.
Is that guitar that's behind you?
He started on the drums, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He started on the drums, and then he started to sing. Mm-hmm. So tell me this. So it's this lady that I hate.
Oh Lord.
And
I hate this.
She really irritates me because she literally lives in my house. And I just want to know if she lives in your house. And she says things like bridge, vamp, intro, outro, vamp, 1, 2, build up.
No.
Breakdown.
Oh,
does she do that in your house?
No, I haven't been privy to that unless I remove myself out of those times and I make myself go find my own business. But no.
The bishop know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That's why I laughed.
I don't like her, Kenya. Her name is Logic.
No. We don't do Logic. Thankfully, he's at his producer Pierre's house or somewhere else when she come out. She don't come out over her.
So I go crazy when I hear her. I'm like, here she goes again. I tell the people that we pastor at our church, and I said, before you hear your song, before the worship team hear your song, I've heard it at least 75 times. So if I'm not participating in worship, you know why? Because I've heard it 75 times. But tell me some funny things that you've witnessed as a wife that people don't see while Mario's preparing maybe for worship or he's preparing to minister in concert. What are some things that you hear or you've seen that he does that nobody knows what he does to prepare, but it drives you crazy though?
Lord, it's just a constant song all the time. Constant preparing, constant this, constant that. He's a perfectionist, and that can be I understand why, but it's a bit annoying at times. But yeah, everything has to be right. I don't think like him. I don't move like him. Those type things. So, in his preparing, he can be very. What's the word that just escaped me? I don't even want to say anal, but that's as positive as I can, say it. But yeah, he's very like with the getting things right. That's him.
Meticulous.
He don't have no like weird rituals.
Does he warm up? Does he vocal warm up crazy? Is it funny how he vocal warms up?
He honestly, he will just warm up in the shower. He warms up like that's what
how normal people do. Okay.
Well, the shower got the best reverb.
The shower got the best reverb.
Man, I sound real good in the shower.
He does a lot of his warming up, but it's nothing outside of the norm because even when he's not preparing for something, he around here singing all the time.
Really?
No, he's singing. He sings a fair amount. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay, that's interesting. So tell me this.
I ain't got no big juicy stuff to share, but he ain't.
Yeah, you ain't got no juicy details. Nothing.
His super, perfectionist ways. No.
Okay, tell me this because as you know, being the wife of Mario, and anybody that's out there that's have dealt with being married to a musician or a creative, it's attractive to people. They go out, and if they're, in concert or if they're playing, it's an attractive gift, whether you're playing, singing, whatever you're doing. But because you are by trade a licensed counselor, has there ever been any kind of competition? Because usually I usually say, when a person is the spouse of one that's always seen, you're never really seen, but they're always seen. So is there any kind of competition? Like, do you ever feel like, hey, I'm important. Hey, pick me, Is there ever any competition between the two, or do you all really don't deal with that and you really just support each other's giftings?
So
that's a great question.
I am an extroverted introvert. I'm an introvert by nature. I don't care to be seen.
No, that's very true. That's true.
When I need to be seen, I make my presence known. Let me say that piece. But he does what he does in his arena, but people get to know my personality outside of my facial expressions sometimes when I share that, or when I allow people, in my space, or in my circle, because that has been an issue before. People come like, why she look like that, or why this now? Because I'm very discerning. I plays no game. And that's just the way it is. If you want to get to know me, you can kind of, come to get to know me. Outside of that, I'm sorry. I don't want to get off of your question. What was the straight question?
Is there any competition between the two of you? Because Mario right now is he's always very seen, and you're kind of in the background. Is there any competition, because you are a phenomenal woman in your own right? Like I said, you have a wonderful career. You are a licensed counselor, and you help many. But people don't see that side of you. So is there any competition between the two of you? Like, are you ever like, when you're out with them, like, okay, I am somebody,
Well, I guess the only thing I say, or somebody will introduce me, they'll be like, oh yeah, you Mario J. Brown wife. And I'm like, my mama named me Kenya. But yes, I am. I'm his better half. That type thing. But as it relates, for the competition and me vying to be seen and, her and this, now, whatever, I only need to be acknowledged by one person, and that's him. When he's not acknowledging me or that, then there's going to be a problem. You know what I'm saying? So acknowledge me where I need to be acknowledged. Put me on where I need to be put in those, environments, so I don't have to go ham on nobody, so there's no competition in that arena. He respects, what I do. I'm at the top of my game, and moving forward where I am, and he's the same, exact way. I give him, his space. Now, have I had to pull a few coattails? Absolutely, but we don't compete in that manner. I think we do pretty good, as that. And I just think as a spouse, let me just speak to the artist piece and the art. As an artist, the thing that you love so much, you have to be able to present it to your spouse in a palatable way.
That's good.
You have to make sure that you're presenting it in a way, and while you're operating, while you're traveling, while you're making music, while you're creating, you have to honor your wife in that manner. If you can't call home, you can't text, if you can't answer my phone calls, if you about to go on stage and you haven't called and told our 3 daughters good night, and then they haven't spoken to you in a number of hours or whatever the case may be, you have to make sure you are making your gift and your livelihood, your lifestyle palatable to the wife. It just isn't on the onus of the spouse to say, oh, I know what I was married into. At the end of the day, this is what you love. This is what you want to continue to do. You don't want contention in your house. You're going to have to be a very good presenter of whatever it is that you are loving and watch, because you want me to love it. You know what I'm saying?
I love that. I love that, because I think that's why competition comes into play, because the priorities have not been prioritized.
Yep.
And that's up to the person who is the creator to make sure that their foundation is secure, making sure that their spouse is secure, because you don't ever want your spouse to hate the gift that God gave you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've done really well with that.
Jay said, "Oh yeah, oh yeah," because you know that happens. Oh, yeah. Jay, you know that happens. Yeah. They will begin to hate the gift that God has given you because you have mismanaged. Okay?
You mismanaged the relationship.
Your responsibilities and your priorities. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say you mismanaged the relationship because, again, like I think somebody said it earlier, the first ministry is the relationship, right? Now you were gifted and born with the gift, but you need people, and you definitely need your spouse, and so to neglect them is detrimental to the growth of them appreciating your gift. So that's really good.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah.
So in closing, I have just one last question for you. What would you say to a wife who's maybe listening or who probably will come back and listen to this broadcast, and she's struggling in the area of supporting her husband, in the area of just being the kind of wife that her husband needs? What would you say to her?
What would I say to her? It's not necessary. I would say my assumption, I'm trying not to go the therapist route, with analyzing. Analyzing what their thoughts or what their barriers or setbacks could possibly be, but at the end of the day, it's a team effort, and it's not necessarily about you. So you have to see what God is trying to, do in that season and what it is, because I had to get mentored, many different times and days, from my spiritual mom, Pastor Melville, or my big sisters, Angie, or whatever the case may be. And, I just had to know his seasons. What seasons?
Don't rush over that. Stop right there. So I had to discern his season.
Yes, I had to know what seasons of life he was in those times where he had been hurt, within the church. And I had to realize it's not about me. So when I feel like I'm not getting what I need or whatever the case may be, I have to look past that, pour into whatever it is that he needs, make decisions based off of where we are going, not where we are at and where God is trying to get him to. Because there were times and seasons where I was just like, all right, Lord, what I'm not going to do is keep on feeling like I'm getting the short end of the stick. That's so I had to have a conversation with God and just pray like, okay, Lord, how can I operate? How can I be the person that I'm supposed to be so I'm not detrimental to this thing? So I would tell her she has to be able to discern the seasons that he's in. You have to pretty much deny yourself in that sense and say, I need to take care of my husband, and God is going to take care of me. So wherever my lack is, God is going to perfect those things that concern me. Yes, he is in this season. This is what he needs. So I had to kind of look past, she would have to kind of look past some of those things, and where he is or where they're trying to go. But it would be very pivotal, and it could be detrimental, or it could make or break, it could make or break you, in that season, or him. Because if you're not standing by him, or you're not being supportive, or you are more concerned about you and your needs and what you're not getting, you could totally not only miss your husband, but you're gonna miss God and what he's trying to do. And I think that's very important. So you just have to be discerning about where you guys are, where you're going, and what's needed in that particular season. It ain't gonna be that way always. So pass that test, get past it and keep it moving so you guys can continue to grow and get to the next level. Because if not, you're going to be stagnant, and you're going to have to keep passing that test, and it's going to really suck. So pass the test.
I love everything that you're saying. I'm a firm believer that, you can never do marriage alone. I know people think that you can, you cannot. You should always have a community. And I would say, in addition to what you were saying, which was so very good, was that connect yourself up with other wives that can help you, that can walk with you, that can minister to you, that can pray for you. I mean, me and Kenya, we've prayed together. We've shared some of our innermost things that was really bothering us about our husbands. But this is how you develop camaraderie and community, and it's really important for a wife to develop that. So,
and it just helps you to not feel like you're the only one that's going through it, or it helps you to feel like you're not crazy. Yeah, and I'm just being real, because sometimes the enemy will use that to say, I'm the only one who's going through this. I'm the only one who is experiencing this, and he will use that against you. And he's going to use anything to try to put a wedge in between, you guys. And once he's got you alone, and against the ropes and up against, that's when all of this other stuff starts to come in. He puts all those other spirits and thoughts and everything, and that's just going to continue to affect everything else. But yeah, it's really good to make sure you're bouncing things off other people, and it's not to be messy or whatever.
Right.
These people are other wise women, like-minded, those types of people that you can trust, or who are even wiser than you. Your mother-in-law, Mother T, has embraced me and carried me, prayed, those. So I prefer to be with women of wisdom and older seasoned women, because they done been there, done that, and if I have to go through that heartache, I don't want to. So I just choose to say, talk to other people. Make sure you are very careful who your core is and who you're seeking that support with, and leave it at that. And it's not that you're telling them every single thing, because sometimes you just gonna need to go to God first, because they may not have anything for you. He's gonna be the one that gives you that answer. So
yeah, I agree. I always say, hey, control the controllables, leave the uncontrollables to God. You got it. Thank you so much, Kenya.
Thank you. I enjoyed this, guy.
I thoroughly enjoyed you. I appreciate you being with me tonight. Like this is my show. I appreciate you being with me tonight.
Mario, if you're listening, we're gonna have to get another spot for Delonda. She did a really good job tonight. We got to put her. We got to make 4 corners and get her on there somewhere. But yeah, I'm excited about this conversation. It was really, really good. Thank you, ladies, for letting me sit in and just chime in every now and then. I'm married, so I know how to step out the conversation, let the women talk. I know how to do it. I know what I'm doing.
Let me sit back.
Let me sit back and just listen, learn something or something. So yeah, I thank you all for this conversation. Delonda, I thank you for being on tonight. It was great. Tell us about what you do, because you have some things that you do. Let us know about what you do.
Yes, well, I'm Delonda Owens Tucker. I'm otherwise known as the Wise Wife. I am a certified Christian marriage and life coach. I am a speaker, minister, and a 2-time author. Anything that you want to know about me, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at the Wise Wife. Or you can follow me on Twitter. I'm Wise Wives Rock. Or you can visit my website. I'm at www.thewisewife.net.
Don't you got a book out too? Did you mention that?
Yeah, I'm 2-time author. Yes. It's called The Wise Wife, 30 Days of Prayers for Wives to Pray Every Day. And then I have another book called The Wise Wife, 3 Powerful Prayers for Wives to Pray. All of that is on my website, www.thewisewife.net.
There
and
it
I
is.
also do wife coaching. So if you need a community, if you need to, get help along this journey, like I was saying earlier, marriage is not to be done alone. But all of that you can find on my website.
There it is. Thank you, Kenya. Did you have any last words, Kenya?
I do not. I'm very proud of what my husband, well, I do. I should not say I do not. I'm very proud of what you all are doing. I think he was really excited about this. I'm glad that it's going so well. You guys rocked out these first 3 weeks. I'm so excited for you guys to get a small break. I'm glad you guys opted to turn it into seasons because I was like, okay, Lord, they tied. Jesus,
I saw you. Yeah, I had your back.
I was praying, but you knew in our meeting at the beginning, I said, y'all gonna do this? Wait, when? How much y'all doing this a week?
See how y'all creators think?
See, I'm trying to
go.
But this has just been amazing, and it is going to go leaps and bounds. I'm very excited for what has, started to fall into place because he's always prayed for a really good team and really good things to come into play. So I just see it all unfolding, and I'm expecting great things. Even these next 4 or 5 months of 2020, I'm destined for it to be greater than what it has been.
Fantastic. This is the MJB podcast, or MJB Music with JB. There's a lot of JBs up in there. Podcast and video cast with me, your host JB, and Mario is not here, but we have the great and the one and only Delonda Tucker, who's with us today. This wraps up our show for today. Please like and subscribe. If you want to tune into the podcast, it'll be on Apple iTunes. It'll be on Apple Podcasts, and it'll be available in the next couple of days or so. Please subscribe to that and make sure you follow, because you never know who's going to be on, because it's more than just a song. It's more than just a song, right? That's what MJB says. It's more than just a song. So thank you. You all have a good night.